Well, hello and welcome back to another Cities with John episode. I am thrilled to have you along for the ride today as we are doing a very special video time lapse. I'm gridding my entire downtown. Everything that's left is being gridded all at once. It's insane, it's wacky, and I thought it would be kind of fun to sit along with you guys and watch this video. I put this video together, did the editing, did the time stretching and all that to get the right speed, but I haven't watched it yet. So this is my first time watching this, and I put multiple hours into this downtown grid, but got everything edited down to 3 hours. And I have never played City Skylines by doing a grid first. I normally grid a little bit and then I put down some buildings, change some things up here or there, that kind of stuff. But here I'm actually gridding the entire downtown all at once. And it's going to be a unique experience, I think. And if you guys like this format as far as the setup with the camera, the watching along as we are watching it kind of together. This is something I'll stick with, and leave a comment if you do like it, and always hit that like button and subscribe. 2 thumbs up. This grid, this grid style, I think a lot of people probably do set up their cities this way. They do put down all the roads and grids and stuff. But not me. I've always just kind of put down a road here, put down a road there, build as I go. But the reason that I wanted to do this is because I wanted to have things kind of set up and ready for me to build this downtown. The downtown area will be lots of buildings, lots of offices, lots of residential, lots of industry. Maybe not lots of industry, but mostly offices and residential, parks, things like that will be all part of this downtown. And setting up this grid will allow me to focus more on building placement, I think, and kind of having with having it all laid out, I'll probably have a better idea of where I want to put certain things and how I want to go about getting certain things set up. And I think this is a kind of cool. And to be honest with you, when I was done with this, when I got done with the grid, I kind of looked back at it and thought, this could be something that I do going forward, is laying down these grids instead of the way I've always done it. So anyway, we already have the tram line in place, and if you click that link above if you want to watch the tram time-lapse video. It's just a regular time-lapse. You don't have to see my ugly face in that one. But we set the tram up, and we used a combination of regular roads and tram roads. The regular roads, when I say regular roads, they have the tram running through them, and then we actually use the only tram roads for part of that as well. So that video is available to check out on my channel, and like I said, there will be a link to check that out as well. That being said, the tram basically just circles downtown. I'm not going to really go too extensive with it because I am, like I've said before, I am going to use Metro Overhaul mod for the first time in this portion of the map. So I'm going to set up some areas where we'll have above ground metro lines, and those above ground metro lines will be the ones that really get people back and forth as far as downtown goes. This downtown is kind of secluded, surrounded by mountains, and then there's a smaller mountain range to the north of this area, and on the other side of that there's more land that potentially could be more downtown. It could be a number of things, but for now it's just a big blank part of the land. And I probably won't actually do much with that until I get all of this portion of the map done. I just kind of want to take one step at a time. But this tram that I laid down does go around the map, kind of connects the lower canals with the rest of downtown. And there's a good shot there of the tram road that you can see. And so let's talk about what I'm doing here. With these canals that I put up, and if you want to check out the canals, there's also a video for that. I'll leave a link above. I hope the link ends up here, because if it's like way over there, it's going to be really awkward. But the canals I just put in there for two reasons. One, I thought it would make it a little bit more challenging to put buildings in. And two, I think that when it is all said and done, it's going to look fantastic with those canals. You're going to have buildings right up against the edge of those of the water and things like that. So I think that's going to look really good. I've thought a lot about how I wanted to place those canals and where I wanted them, and I'm glad I stuck with the way that I have them now. I think if I did too many of them, it would probably look I think it would be overly difficult. I don't want it to be so difficult that it's like impossible to build structures, but I just want it to be a little bit more challenging. And like I said, I think it just gives it a unique look. And the theme of this map has been tropical. It'll remain tropical through this downtown, but you probably notice the lower canals are not really a tropical zone. It's more of a old town feel. Old town, but good size. So this portion of the map will be a downtown that will be more in line with a tropical setting. I'll be using some old buildings and things like that, or some like general skyscrapers, but for the most part, I want to keep it with the theme of some tropical looking buildings and things like that. So I'll be hitting up the Steam Workshop to find some additional buildings that will work for that. So far so good on this grid. As you can see there, I used a lot of one-way roads to get back and forth across the map. I didn't really overly think that part. Generally speaking, when you grid, regardless if you grid first or you're gridding as you go and doing your networking as you go, you want to make sure that you have some one-way streets. One-way streets can be a pain in the butt when you're using them in just random spots, but if you're doing it like this and you have them go all the way across your map, it's a really quick way for people to get back and forth through a downtown area. You just got to make sure that you don't overdo it, because what can end up happening is once the traffic starts hitting and you get a lot of cars on there, you start really looking, it really makes things more difficult. And when you have to start changing one-way streets and you've already got all your buildings and everything set up, it can make things difficult and a little bit more challenging. So here I'm just kind of flattening out. The game just automatically assumes that we want arches in all these bridges, but I didn't want arches, so flatten that out, get all those roads looking nice and neat, nice and flat. I used a combination of a lot of different roads, as you can tell. I used a lot of these American roads that have the yellow stripes on it. And then I used a lot of just the basic in-game roads, network extension roads. Lots of different roads, but I wanted a variety of roads, and I think I achieved that. So here I'm just kind of bringing over a connection road that's going to connect over toward the lower canals. A road that came out of the lower canal district, went over the canal that was over there, is now going to be connected with a road that's going to take you to downtown. So kind of an alternate way where you don't have to take the interstate to get to downtown. You can go over this bridge and head over to the downtown area. So we also have rail involved here, and it's going to be later in the video, you'll see I'm going to throw in a large train depot where trains can interchange with other trains, and that will kind of be my downtown hub for getting on and off the train. And some of the fine touch things I'm not going to be doing. So if you see some weird looking pillars and things like that, I'm not actually going to do that today on this video, because I feel like that would take up a lot more time, and I'm just not going to do that. So here I'm just adding in I think it's called a swanky street, and just kind of putting in a small roundabout here. With this roundabout, like right here, I thought this would be a great place for the road to just end and have some real nice looking offices, because those streets are real nice looking. But yeah, just everywhere I can, just kind of gridding it out. So there it is so far, looking pretty good. Now here what I'm doing is I'm going to kind of connect this tram line to this road here, and then change the road over to tram, and then we'll be able to kind of get rid of that NASCAR track looking thing over there. We're going to kind of change that up. That was just set up to allow the tram to function, because I wanted to get the tram going, and I just didn't really... I wanted to get the tram going, and I didn't really want to put much thought into the portion that would connect it. So I just like made a little circle over there, had some tram stops on it, and it's actually kind of cool. It's being used a lot by the citizens. But what I did there is I just used the tram road off to the side and just made kind of a connection, and then the tram road actually ends and becomes a regular road, so that way I can extend that road over without it being a tram line. Trams do slow down traffic. Industry and trams sometimes don't get along in this game, so if you have a road that has tram lines down the middle and you have industrial zoning in that section, expect some crazy delays. So I don't recommend combining those two. Those right there, those pink looking roads, are bus line roads. And one thing I am going to do is I'm going to have some roads that are dedicated to buses. If they're not 100% buses, they will be roads that have bus stops frequently, so people can get on and off the bus. I'm really going heavy on the public transportation in downtown, and of course, with all these regular roads, public transportation is going to be a must if you're trying to get from point A to point B. There's going to be lots of residential, lots of different types of zoning, but people are going to be wanting to get around. The tram will be taking people from really point A to point B, the bus from all over the place. And then once we get those metro lines in, we'll kind of take a look at that and see what's going to be the best route to use the metro with. I do anticipate this section of the map to be really big, and it's going to need multiple types of public transportation. So that's what we're going to do. So I don't really like using the roads that have the trees built in, but here I think it's okay, and I'm using it sparingly, and yeah, I think it makes sense in that case. I need to get caught up. So this road here is going to come over the interstate, the freeway, and what we're going to do with that is that's going to be an entrance and exit ramp. I'm trying to have some connections on this freeway to enter and exit and get off of the freeway, but I don't want to do too many. But I built that road to go over. I was trying to go under it at first, but that road was already elevated, and it just made it didn't really look right, so I just got rid of that, and I'm doing that method. Here I'm putting a very windy beachside highway, beachside boulevard, parkway, whatever you want to call it. This bridge here is going to be a curved bridge, and just do something a little bit different. I've got so many roads passing over this canal so far, and we haven't even gotten halfway through the video. But yeah, I like using these curved roads, and a curved bridge is something you don't see necessarily every day, but it has to avoid that freeway there. And I didn't want it to go over the beach or have pillars that were in the water. Now, one thing that I haven't really decided exactly how I want to do yet, these beaches, I might end up getting rid of the beaches. Like I might end up making those just grass and then putting a quay along there. I haven't really decided that. I do know that I want buildings to extend all the way to the edge of the water. Um, Maybe not the whole entire thing, but I want it to be set up that way. And so I think that this boulevard that I installed here will allow that to happen. So one thing you might notice is when I plop down my roads, trees don't disappear, and that's because of the prop and tree anarchy. You can turn prop and tree anarchy off, okay, and those trees will go away. I don't do that. I use the forest brush mod and just click the right mouse button and eliminate trees, and that's how I get rid of the trees. Reason being is I have had so many issues kind of going back and forth with turning off and on the prop tree anarchy. It seems like every time that I use it, I seem to have mixed results. And when I turn it off and then I plop down roads, when I load my game back up, a lot of times those trees are back, even if they did get destroyed by the roads, they end up coming back. And other trees will not load at all. So I'll have some trees that just don't load, don't function. And, I didn't really want, I'd rather just erase them than have to deal with that over and over and over. I don't really want to have to worry about tree placement and things like that. So yeah, it's starting to really come together, isn't it? But yeah, so that's why I don't turn off the prop tree anarchy. You can see there in the bottom left hand corner, above the little exclamation point, the prop and tree anarchy on. I just leave it on all the time. So I'll be watching other people's videos and they have it turned off until they're actually putting down their props. I've tried that before. Like I said, I have all these weird things that happen with it, and I just basically got tired of messing with it. So here I'm using a parking lot, and I just kind of stretched that out so that way there'll be some buildings on each side of that. And I'll probably end up doing the same thing on this other side, but for now I just end up making some connection streets. Here we're using actually this does not work. The brick road will not cooperate. But I didn't want every road that crossed over this canal to look the same, so I just kind of I used an industrial road there, so it looked a little bit different. So I'm just trying to maximize all of my spacing. This road that is curving over right now is another road that features bus lanes. So with that road, buses will be a little bit more, will have their own lane where they can go, won't be in the way of the traffic. And this road is actually going to be the road that my train depot ends up being mounted to momentarily. But that road, like I said, it'll make bus travel a lot easier. I just want it to be easy to get around. I want the people that live over this way to not necessarily have to get in their cars to get to work. People that will be in cars will be the ones that travel from the other parts of the map to get to this. And yeah, I just think that having public transportation, I usually don't use it all that much, so this is the time to use it, I think, because there's going to be a lot of people down here, and with my population growth that hopefully happens, we'll have a lot of traffic and a lot of congestion and need more public transportation. This road that you're seeing here that builds that concrete barrier is a new road that I downloaded. I'm kind of still playing with it a little bit. I end up using it here as just kind of like a corner piece or as like an intersection piece. it's a little tricky because what you got to do is, as you see there, you have to kind of pull it out and make sure that it does not cover up the roads, because it does not automatically detect that a road is underneath it. So you got to be careful with the way you use it. And it also does some wonky things like you see there, that little ramp. So you have to kind of like stretch out your nodes and do a little editing there. There I just kind of plopped in a road just to get an extra node so I can make that look a little bit crisper. Verdict's still out on it. I mean, I like the idea. I love the idea. And I think it would work perfect for an interstate on-ramp. But when you use it, you're stuck with it. You have to do it all the way down, more or less. And if you have roads going underneath the interstate, if it's consistent, you got to find a way for it to be not consistent. And since the top of the road doesn't match other roads, then you're kind of just, you have to force a tunnel. So didn't really want to do that. And so anyway. All right. So looking good so far. And now what we're going to do is use some of these small roads. Don't use the small roads hardly at all, but they work really well for downtowns because they're super narrow, and you can still get traffic in both directions, but there's not any, I don't believe there's parking on these roads. You can get a lot of businesses and you can do a lot of grid work with them, but they are not a, I don't recommend using them unless you're wanting to squeeze in a lot of stuff in a close proximity, which is what I'm doing. The way I set these intersections up, as you can tell, they're all very evenly spaced, so that'll make building a lot better, and allow for, when you have those equal parts, it allows for some really cool looking stuff. And then right here, I'm going to put in a curved road, and that's just fine there because, as you can see, it's a tight little corner. We can put a building in right there that might be in between all this over all these overpasses and stuff. So it works there, but for the most part, you want to keep, when you're using those small roads, you want to use them just the way that I did for gridding. Here I'm going with a different type of road just to kind of change it up a little bit. If you go to Google Maps and you look at a road of downtown wherever, you'll see lots of different size roads, but for the most part, they're straight. There's very few curves, with the exception of some cities that have to have curves because, you know, it's a situation where there's things that they're trying to avoid and things of that nature. But here, we're not trying to avoid much. We're just going for it. We're just going right for it. So yeah. So here is a road that came from the lower canal. It's just connecting that. And then just kind of randomly going through my pillars here. I can't remember exactly what I was trying to do here. So here I'm just kind of messing with some buildings and trying to figure out what would look right. Is there any buildings that, you know, how is this going to work as far as spacing goes, and to see if I need to add maybe some more small roads to this, which ultimately I don't think I do, but sometimes when you have those bigger intersections and the buildings are all up against it, you end up having to add some additional roads or making some pathways and things just because there's a lot to it. So recording has started. That's awesome. So this is something I was just kind of messing with, and it's kind of for a future episode, but I'm thinking about putting in a massive bridge there, and that was just a little sneak peek. It's something I might do a little bit further down the line. We'll see. Not really sure. Okay, so here's the train depot. I got rid of the track that was going, just the straight track that was going through here, and now as you can see, there's our train depot. It's got 3 connections. So what we're going to do is we're just going to bring this rail and split it up into 3 rails. So this will allow trains to, like if you come into this train station, you can get off of the train that you're on and connect with another train. I think having it right here in the heart of downtown is perfect location. I thought about maybe putting it closer to the other interstate junction where I've got some rail over there, and that's also where the tram runs through. But I thought that with the bus road right there and the fact that I'm going to have some metro involved with this map, I didn't really see a point in doing that. So I decided just to put it over here, and I think it's a good location. As you can see, there's a little bit of a weird glitch going on, so I just end up using the in-game railroad lines. I haven't had much success with Steam Workshop railroads. I've used them on the map, but I haven't had much success with them, and it seems like I always end up having weird glitches and the blue mantra pop up. But oh, that train just disappeared. But another one has taken its place. So, excuse me. I'm recording live, of course. There I was just adding in some pipes and got all the water set up for downtown. And then here I'm bringing over some electricity, running it all the way down this boulevard, and then we'll kind of cross over, and that'll be where it ends. And then I'm just going to use the below ground electricity lines for the time being. I might extend that electricity line all the way across the map, but one thing that's a common occurrence is when you're making a map, when you use electricity, a lot of people are tempted just to use like the electric roads and things like that. But I actually like to use the above ground electric just to have a realistic look. So always keep that in mind when you're building your city, is even though there are some neat things where you don't have to do electricity everywhere, you don't have to extend those poles everywhere, in real life they are everywhere, so you have to kind of end up using them. So here we're making an exit junction to the eastbound freeway, and I really like how this turned out, that spiral exit there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just have a road. This road kind of goes both ways until it gets to that exit. So what we're going to do, we're kind of getting this all fixed up, and you can see how that other interstate, the other overpass there with the concrete, is kind of causing fits already. So we'll see how that ends up. So we're just going to bring over the one lane all the way over here, and then right where it connects, we will have another exit ramp, another slip lane that will connect us to the other direction of the interstate momentarily. But we're actually going to bring that over from a different portion of the grid here. We're going to bring it off of that 6-lane road here in just a second. So just trying to add a lot of entrances and exits and things like that, but I don't want to space them all right together. I debated, I actually looked for some interchanges on the workshop that I was just going to use it and be done with it. But I really love making interchanges. I think it's a lot of fun. I love putting down roads. It kind of makes me want to check out the Transport Fever game everybody's been talking about here recently. But I'll probably just stick to City Skylines for now. So here I'm doing a road that's going to connect and make another entrance, and I was trying to get that road to kind of sync with the ground, so I could put some buildings over this way, but it was kind of being a booger. You know, you have to kind of look at these roads in two different ways. You have to make it realistic looking, have the right angles and slopes and stuff, but at the same time you want to optimize your build space. So that's what I was trying to achieve there, but that road ends up turning into just a entrance to that eastbound lanes, an entrance for the eastbound lanes of the map. I was a little too close to the edge there. Alright, so there you have it. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Little time lapse. Watch me ramble on forever and ever. But I had a good time making this. It was really a lot of fun. And that's probably the main grid. Yeah, I might add a few roads here or there, but that's what we're going to stick with. I think it turned out really well, and yeah, I'm very excited about working on downtown now. Well, I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching City with John. As always, hit that like button, subscribe. Bye-bye.